Okay, I'm going to call the meeting to order.
Hold on, let me get.
Sorry.
Let me start the
Just kidding.
recording. Close the whole thing out. Let me start. Oh, there it is.
Okay, so I'm going to call the meeting to order at 6:02. Can I get someone to make a motion to accept the agenda?
Motion to accept the agenda.
Thanks, Rhiannon.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Leslie. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, we have an agenda. Communications with parents, citizens, and staff. If there's people here that would like to address the board, now's the time to do it. Anybody want to?
Yeah.
Okay, Susan? Okay.
So I'm Susan Price. I am from Neshabie School.
I did.
I'm a special educator there.
Oh, sorry.
And I have a few things to say about the budget that is proposed. And I just want to start by saying that I feel like nothing was heard from last year's discussions. Because the thing that I noticed most was that there's going to be another administrator at central office. And I'm pretty sure people were a little frustrated with the top-heavy administration. Then I also see that we're cutting a special educator. And I understand that maybe one school doesn't need that special educator, but I know other schools do need the special educators. You know, one of the, one of the 5 focus areas is grades, SEL and academic performance and growth. And with high special education caseloads, how are we going to help these kids rise? Then I see that there's going to be an SPLA, speech language assistant, is going to be cut. Okay, like, again, these positions might not be necessary at one school, but these positions are necessary in the district, and we have these amazing people. Why are we trying to lose these amazing people? And that's where my frustration is just, I'm so frustrated. And then I see that there's bus monitors that are leaving, and I'm not sure if they can't fill the position or it's being cut. But again, like, go on a bus one day, see what it is like. There might not be a specific one-on-one need for these two positions that are being cut, but oh my gosh, these bus rides, I mean, the kids that come in, they're so stressed out just from the bus rides alone, so just having an extra adult. I mean, these bus drivers are amazing and they do what they can, but there's a lot of kids, and these kids are not always fed, so they're hungry and they're cranky because they're tired. So, I mean, I just feel like nothing was listened to last year, and I just I realize this is just a draft, but considering the next draft, really put that in mind and really understand where the people on the ground, what we're dealing with every day. And again, just come into the schools. Please come in. Call the school, say, I want to read to the school. I want to come in and help in the kitchen, in the cafeteria. And they'll say, sure. I mean, I think you have to do stuff, but you can do it. So understand where we're coming from. It isn't like we need these people, but we need these people. And it's such a shame to lose all these good people. And I'm going to, because I know other people want to speak.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Susan. Anyone else? Oh, yes, go ahead, Mrs. Benware.
Diane Benware, Town of Leicester. I would echo what you have to say, because if raising student scores is a real goal of the supervisory union or district, whatever you want to call it, it's not achieved by having seats filled in the central office. It's achieved by having people directing their attention and their focus on the students. You have to focus on student delivery of services. And I haven't seen all the details of the budget, but filling another office at the central office is not going to get you what you propose to be saying that you're doing. My comments were a little more general than that, but I need to echo what you say. My concern is the lack of transparency that I see. On November 15th, the superintendent came to Leicester and spoke about how that was going to be an emphasis going forward, lack of real sense of transparency, so that people, voters, taxpayers would have more of a sense of what is going on in the school and in the supervisory union. So that was November 15th. 3 days later, the school board here voted to adopt a middle school model with no price tag attached. Doesn't seem to me that that's an example of transparency. The agenda for this evening, when I finally found it, I saw that it was listed as a school board retreat rather than a school board meeting. So if someone's looking for a school board meeting, they might not find it, given it's got that label. That doesn't seem transparent. And as a resident of Leicester and as the chair of the select board, I'm very interested in what is going to be decided. And I have to ask, is the intent this evening to approve one of the 3 options that was mentioned in the paper?
Not
Madison
necessarily.
Independent carried an article talking about option 1, something about keeping the full staff, option 2, reducing the staff and having more multi-age classes. The option 3 was to move the current, or the 6th graders to Neshabie. So is that,
Not necessarily tonight. We might talk about it, but we may not make a decision tonight, no.
okay, because again, the agenda is not clear. So the other question that's related to that, though, I believe all 3 options talk about moving the Whiting pre-K to Leicester. Is that accurate?
That is possible, yes. It's a possibility.
Possibility. Well, I was here at a November meeting when I talked about the transportation problems that already exist at the Leicester School with parents picking kids up and the buses, because we only have one way in and one way out. And currently, when the buses come, parents are parked from the very edge of the school parking lot all the way out to the Leicester Whiting Road. So if you, and preschoolers can't go on the bus, is my understanding.
That's correct.
So if you're going to bring more children in, then the school board needs to contact some of the neighboring landowners, or you need to work out a plan, because the current plan is unworkable to add more cars, more private cars coming in and out of the school lot. And I bring that up as the chair of the select board, because the roads are our responsibility, and the arrival time and dismissal time is already a problem, and if you add more private cars, I don't know, but the school board needs to look into that as soon as possible. Then, also speaking on behalf of the town, we're still looking for a sense of direction from the school board as to what the ultimate plan is for the Leicester School. And I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I'll go ahead anyway and repeat what I said before. If the school is turned back to the town, we understand it's for the sum of $1. However, we know that we have to insure it, we have to maintain it, we have to figure out what we're going to do with it. And we can't, as a town, turn around on a dime and make those decisions and make it happen. So if there is a long-term plan for the school, we would like to know as soon as possible. If there isn't a plan and you're exploring things, we need to know that too. So we need transparency there as to what you think you're going to do with the school, because if we're going to turn it into something that the town can use, we have to budget several years in advance, smaller amounts of money, so that we can do that. We can't go to the voters and have them approve $100,000 in one shot to be able to transform that building into something that might be useful, whether it's our town office or our town shed or whatever. So again, we need to know as soon as possible, and there needs to be transparency there. The other issue that I am concerned about was 2 months ago, I guess it was, there was a plan, or we sat in this room and we heard about the potential for closing Otter Creek Academy at Leicester. Then at the I believe it was the next meeting, the idea of the middle school was brought up and proposed. And to me, that shows a lack of transparency for one thing, and also a lack of planning. If you're going to make major changes like that, you have to include all of the people that are impacted, and you have to lay out a plan so that it's not done in a hurry and it's not done with a lot of regret later. So if that's what you're going to do, then sit down, think about it, and really make it clear and communicate that to the people. Because we hear one thing one month, we hear something else the next month. It seems like there's not a lot of forethought and forward thinking that's going on. And then I think my last comment would be having to do with the middle school model. Was there a needs assessment done to determine that there's a real need for that? Have parents of incoming students been surveyed? Have the teachers that are involved in teaching these children been consulted? What kind of background work has been done, if any, or when is the plan for that to happen? And then my final comment, the reality for taxpayers, and I'm sure it's not just in the town of Leicester, is just paying the tax bill is a big challenge. And we have people who are telling us that they're dipping into their retirement savings in order to pay their tax bills because they want to stay here. At this time, I think proposing a bond vote for a building or an addition to this building is perhaps not the wisest move to be making at this time.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Stephen Thomas, Brandon. I want to read a prepared statement. I want to submit this letter to the board. To the Otter Valley Unified Union School Board. This past week, a teacher at Otter Valley Middle High School was informed that due to financial concerns, their position would be riffed at the end of the year. The expressed reason for this reduction in staff was lowering the OVU budget within a 3% increase, which could only be achieved through such a reduction. We, the undersigned, would like to formally oppose such a measure and suggest this cut would negatively impact student experience at multiple levels of the school. While we fully acknowledge the difficulties in meeting the current financial situations facing public schools in Vermont, we vigorously protest the notion that a reduction in staff is the most effective means of addressing these concerns. Losing a teacher, in this case an experienced middle school teacher who has made significant strides in developing meaningful relationships with one of the most challenging age groups, will cause measurable harm to student success at multiple levels at Otter Valley. More than simply impacting the middle school, this reduction will also send ripples through the high school, as reorganizing of the social studies department, which this cut would necessitate, will restrict course offerings, reduce the opportunities for students to receive personalized academic differentiation, and limit the department's ability to offer existing co-taught classes. Given the newly outlined emphasis on reducing course fail rates, improving test scores, and raising graduation rates, a reduction in staff will directly undermine the efforts currently underway to address these concerns. Moreover, this reduction in teaching staff is especially troubling given the announcements of a new elementary curriculum coordinator position. Given the expressed frustration by the community at what they perceive to be inflated central office budget, announcing both a reduction in teaching staff with direct student-facing responsibilities and, in addition, an administrative staff will further frustrate the community, which in turn will likely jeopardize future efforts to pass annual budgets and will likely imperil public support for initiatives such as bond votes. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Amber. Anyone else? Ms. McCartney?
Hi, Meredith McCartney, Director of Counseling at Otter Valley. I would like to speak about concerns about, I'm using my phone, sorry, as I wrote notes on it. Concerns about the decision to centralize 504 services and hire a single case manager coordinator to manage Section 504 compliances across the district. I have multiple concerns at multiple levels for this, and I don't know as I will be able to fully express what those are, but I'll give it a try. So I believe this will be a significant negative impact on Otter Valley students. We have 60 students who are currently on 504 plans, and they receive tremendous support in this building. It works well. The case management that they receive And it is an intensive caseload. If you look at caseload distribution, for example, students on an IEP, the case managers have between 10 and 20 students. Our 504 coordinator has 60. It's working. That person is very overworked, but is working. And so moving that to a level where now the 504 coordinator is doing the entire district seems like you're setting a person up for an impossible position where they really can't develop the relationships with the families, with the students, and provide that direct face-to-face service. What you're creating with that position is a person who would be providing administrative oversight, not case management.
Bless you.
Thank you.
And I can understand, I don't know what the needs are at the elementary level. I imagine that they are many, and perhaps there needs to be a position that's developed that is for the elementary schools, but please don't touch us. So for OV, we have a system in place. It's part of our MTSS levels of support. And it also, I know that one of the initiatives and concerns that we have is about our graduation rates. And changing this support will significantly damage our graduation rates. The students who are receiving this support have very high needs, and they are students that really need that personal case management to make it through. And I cannot tell you the years of families and students who have identified that 504 case management support is made the difference for them about remaining in school and about making it to graduation. And so reducing that support is not something that will benefit our graduation rates. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. St. Raymond? Or Sherry, excuse me.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Katie Sherry, social studies teacher at Otter Valley. This is my 12th year teaching and my 3rd year at Otter Valley. I'm here to speak about the proposed cut of a full-time social studies teaching position at our school, while simultaneously the district moves forward with adding a second curriculum coordinator in central office. Last week, we were informed that 1.5 full-time teachers would be cut at Otter Valley, including social studies. In practice, this means eliminating our 8th grade social studies teacher, a role that has historically been very difficult to staff consistently. It is rare to find educators who both want to teach middle school and are truly skilled at working with this age group. This is a person who moved here with a family and indicated that he is ready to grow his career here in our district. 8th grade is a critical transition year, and instability here has immediate consequences for students. We've seen that over the past few years with 8th grade. We're trying to build consistency. This is also not a new experiment for our school. A number of years ago, social studies was actually reduced to 3 teachers. For perspective, Rutland High School is double our population, and they have 9 social studies teachers. So, 9. The result was increased workload, fewer course offerings, electives, and a strain on students and staff. 2 years later, the position was restored because it was clear the department could not function effectively without it. So cutting this position again means repeating a cycle we already know does not work. We also have another department that is in a similar position. There is a misconception that this cut produces meaningful savings. We are currently seeing this with the math department, who has already been reduced to 3 teachers. But 2 of those 3 teachers are now teaching during their planning periods. So they are already strained and overworked themselves. Even with adequate pay, there's just the fact of the day that they cannot give as much time to the students they have without that planning period. This model that we like, for some reason, leads to burnout, higher turnover, and hidden costs that don't appear in this initial budget, but absolutely affect instructional quality, long-term stability, and most importantly, the quality of the education we provide our students. Equity needs to be considered. When departments are reduced to the minimum, electives disappear. We've seen this happen in math, It happened in social studies a few years ago. It will happen again. Elective courses, the interesting ones such as psychology, forensics, AP courses, courses that ready our students for college and the real world, are often what engage students who struggle to connect with traditional coursework. With just 3 teachers, we're reduced to the required 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade math or science or social studies, and students get bored. The interesting classes are the electives. Cutting these opportunities disproportionately impacts students who rely on school as their primary place to explore interests, careers, identities, new subjects, areas of interest. Equity is not just about access to required classes, it is about access to meaningful, engaging learning. And we would not be able to provide that with just 3 teachers in the high school. With only 3 high school social studies teachers, these become impossible at a time when students are telling us school feels boring, irrelevant. Why are we actively narrowing opportunities instead of expanding them? And this is especially concerning in a moment when social studies is essential for helping students understand democracy, civic responsibility, the world they are inheriting. Social studies is where students learn to argue with each other respectfully, to analyze sources, to come to an understanding and develop their opinion, to understand democratic institutions, and to engage critically and meaningfully with the world around them. The lines between democracy and authoritarianism are being tested daily in our country, and reducing staffing in this department, what kind of message is it sending about what we value? Finally, many of us are deeply, deeply troubled by the optics of cutting a position that entails direct daily student contact, someone who knows what kind of day the kids are having, someone who can look out and say like, hey, this kid needs extra help or something wrong is going on at home, someone that interacts with their grade every single day. And at the same time, central office is adding a new administrative role, a second curriculum coordinator. While curriculum coordination is important, I have only met our curriculum coordinator once. Classroom teachers work with students every day. I see Zach every day. I've heard about his impact from kids every day. I have kids that go visit him every single day because he's building relationships. Governor Scott also asked that districts reduce budgets by getting rid of administrative bloat. So why are we packing on more bloat in the name of adults who directly serve our students? These choices you are making send a message about your priorities, and that message is really clear and it matters to us. I greatly urge the board to reconsider this cut, or at least pause and evaluate how these staffing decisions are actually being made and how they are actually impacting our children and our community. Once these teaching positions and programs are lost, they are extremely difficult to rebuild. We're already losing a lot. So please, please, please consider what your priorities are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Can I have a copy of that statement, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, give me a second. So, good evening, school board. My name is Zachary Pointer. I'm the 8th grade social studies teacher here at Otter Valley. This is my 2nd year at Otter Valley, but my 9th year teaching overall, having moved from Michigan to Virginia and finally here to Vermont. As this budget proposal affects everyone here at Otter Valley, the social studies department in particular, I wanted to share my thoughts. First, I believe that the budget proposal to cut a full-time educator here at Otter Valley feels impersonal and absolves us of the feeling of the weight of talking about an actual person. So, when speaking about this full-time educator that is being cut, I would appreciate it if we would use my name, Zachary Pointer, as I am the full-time educator that we are talking about. In my first year here at Otter Valley, I walked into an 8th grade world history class that didn't have a curriculum, so I created my own. I didn't receive the previous teacher's curriculum until January, midway through the school year, so I finished the year with my own content. However, during that year, I recognized that there was no civics class at Otter Valley, so I fought to change my curriculum, pushing myself to create a brand new curriculum 2 years in a row. This year, my students have learned about our federal, state, and local government, written letters to the representatives, including our own superintendent, Renee Sanchez, focused on community service, and have been practicing advocating for themselves in every way. To that end, what kind of role model would I be if I didn't practice my own self-advocacy and serve my own community? My community is one that has welcomed me with open arms, helped me feel supported, and allowed me to build lasting relationships with my colleagues, my students, and my students' parents. Multiple coworkers have checked on my well-being since finding out that my job is at risk of being cut, even going so far as to help me in the unfortunate circumstance that I may need to find another job. A large group of students, both former and current, spend much of their free time in my classroom throughout the day. They come in during passing, flex, and after school just to chat. I'm often thanked by parents for sending out weekly update emails, and I've become the point of contact for many 8th grade parents, even those not in my advisory group. I'm the tech lead for the 8th grade team, created our newsletter website, am in charge of class meetings, and will be running class elections when the students choose their officers for 9th grade. I say all of this not because I'm trying to make anyone feel bad for me, but because it's important we recognize that cutting a full-time teacher means cutting someone who interacts with the students and community on a daily basis in favor of someone who will be spending their time in an office. As my closing statement, I want you to ask yourselves one question. When a student's time in school is done, will they remember the person they've never seen in the central office who designed their curriculum? Or will they remember their teachers that stood in front of them every single day? So, once again, my name is Zachary Pointer, your full-time educator being cut, and I thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to the board?
Check. Let me check the.
Yeah.
No hand raised.
Okay, and then I'm just going to read the ones that I have.
Oh, Callie has one. Callie
Oh.
raised her hand. Or did you put it? Callie, did you want to speak or did you put it down?
Oh no, sorry. I was just, you might be reading my comment right now, so I'll wait.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so I have 4 reach outs. One was from Mrs. Sherry, who's already spoken tonight, so I'm not going to reiterate it because you already did. The next one was anonymous. It says, I'm deeply concerned that the current RNESU budget draft you are considering adds an additional administrative position at central office at a time when the OVUU board is considering cutting staff positions that have direct student impact. If you want all students to read by the end of grade 2, give the K2 teachers class sizes where they can give each student personal attention, not additional curriculum staff. Do not add additional staff at central office. The next one was also anonymous. It says a budget that adds another administrative position will not pass in our community. If you haven't been listening over the past few years, if you think it will. And the last one is from Brenna Kimball. She's a teacher at OCA. She says, hello, I'm writing in response to last week's board meeting to ask a few questions and to respond to a few things. Once again, thank you to the board for all your hard work. It was mentioned a few times that a teacher moved to OCA from Neshabie, and while there was a floating position, no teacher was moved. A position at Neshabie was eliminated, and a position at OCA was kept to help support the vigorous requirements of teaching our programs to our multi-age classrooms. No additional teacher was added to OCA, and I just wanted to clarify. It was mentioned that there is a population of students who have transferred out of OCA, and I do think it's important to know that many of these are because students attended Neshabie preschool and chose to stay as they were most comfortable with the school. Many of these students never stepped foot in OCA before making their transfer request. There have also been transfers in and out to find the right fit, large or small. OCA was excited to welcome a few families that had intended to homeschool and chose OCA due to its small, tight-knit community. OCA reconfiguration option 3 would move the OCA 6th grade to Neshabie for their last year of elementary school. Then they would move again the following year at OV. Students who have spent their academic career at a school they enjoy would move for 1 year to transition again. If OCA were to go with option 3 and reduce a teacher, what is the percentage decrease from the budget? What would be the case the next year? Would a teacher need to be hired back? Is the decrease in salary worth moving these students, and whatever transition would inspire the next year? Brenda mentioned that OCA couldn't handle taking on more kids. Why? What does this mean? OCA is greatly looking forward to having the preschool program at the Leicester campus. Thank you for reading and any answers you may be able to provide. So those are the, comments that I received. So, anyone else before we move on?
Callie raised her hand.
Oh, yes, Ms. Hughes.
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry, I think I submitted a reach out, but I don't know, maybe it got lost in the shuffle, but I have it here and I would like to just share it.
Sure.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Callie Hughes. I am a parent of 2 children in OCA Leicester who both attended the Whiting Pre-K, and I am also the part-time nurse that is currently supporting the OCA Leicester, OCA Whiting, and the Sudbury School. I'm writing because of the staffing reduction discussions and consolidation proposal presented about a month ago, and I just wanted to share what cuts to the student-facing and support staff would mean for our students, our families, and our school communities. In schools, so much of the essential work that keeps children safe, regulated, able to learn, and excited to come to school happens quietly in the background and very often by support staff. Whether it's a paraeducator helping a student navigate a meltdown, a special educator adapting curriculum to make learning more accessible, a nurse addressing anxiety that shows up as a stomach ache, or administrators stepping in during crises. These are the invisible roles that allow teachers to teach and students to learn. Speaking from my perspective as a nurse, my job involves much more than first aid. Every day includes assessing student health concerns, managing chronic conditions, identifying mental health needs, of which there are many, supporting students who are experiencing food insecurity or unstable housing, participating in IEP and 504 meetings, teaching required health content, responding to medical and emotional emergencies. And when I'm not physically on site, which is often, given that I serve 3 buildings, those responsibilities don't disappear. They shift to classroom teachers, paras, administrative staff who are already carrying tremendous workloads. And that brings me to the heart of the issue, which is when we cut student-facing positions, the burden doesn't disappear, it just transfers, and ultimately students end up paying the price. When fewer staff are available to support student regulation and behaviors, teachers become the crisis managers instead of educators in their classroom. Students experiencing trauma or stress, which is a majority of the students that I see, escalate more often and stay escalated longer. Their classmates experience fear and disruption, and learning, both academic and social emotional, stalls. A child who is activated in the fight or flight response does not learn, and this has a trickle-down effect that ultimately impacts the district's main goals of improving attendance, increasing graduation rates, promoting social emotional learning, increasing academic test scores. So no matter how thoughtful a staffing chart looks on paper, a classroom can't run safely or effectively without adequate adult support. Support staff aren't extras, they're not interchangeable, and they can only be in one place at a time. They're the people who notice small changes before they become big problems, the consistent adults who help children feel safe enough to learn, and the safety net that prevents kids from falling through the cracks. And these positions aren't highly paid roles. Many earn around $30,000 to maybe $40,000 a year, but they generate enormous value. Cutting positions that are student-facing might provide a short-term budget relief, but the long-term costs are going to show up in increased dysregulation and behavioral crises, higher absenteeism, reduced instructional time, widening inequities, and students disengaging from school altogether. If reductions need to be made, and I do understand that to keep our state affordable, this must happen, I strongly urge the board and the administration to protect the roles that provide direct daily support to students, the paras, the special educators, student support staff, nurses, building level administrators. Before any cut is made, there must be a clear and realistic plan for how to fill the gap that these eliminated positions will create. Because without that plan, we are guaranteeing that that needs will go unmet and that our children will fall through those cracks. So for all those reasons, I respectfully ask that the board and upper administration maintain the current levels of student-facing and support staffing in this upcoming budget. These roles are essential to safety, accessibility, belonging, and learning, and eliminating them would have both an immediate and far-reaching consequences for our children and our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't have that one. Okay. We are going to move on at this point and actually talk about the fiscal year 27 proposed budget. The first draft was presented last week. Yep.
Brenda, do you want to highlight, are there any changes that need to be highlighted?
We do not have any changes or updates from last week. We did find 6 of our missing students, so we're back to where I think we have the right number of students. But no, I haven't made any updates to anything. We are still waiting on information for vocational education costs at Hannaford, which I hope to have before the holidays, which is this week.
You've received Stafford's?
Yes.
Okay. One of the
Stafford's was actually, no. Stafford's was included in Barstow's last night, but not in yours.
not in ours. Okay. All right, but you have received it, and we'll see it
We
next
have it, and
time.
you'll see that in the next draft, right?
Okay. One of the things I asked you guys to think about for this week, now that we have a proposed budget, and what I'd like to discuss now is the 3 options at Leicester that were presented to you. And that's all I'm going to say at this point. I don't want to put my spin on it at this time. So I'd like to hear thoughts from the board. Yeah, Brett.
One question that came to me after last time, and we were hit with a lot of information, so I apologize for not realizing this. Which option was assumed in the 3.49?
Option 1,
Okay.
So leaving it the way it is now?
yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's that. I guess one of the questions I'll ask you then to kind of start, and maybe Brenda, you have to answer this before anyone else, is that moving the Whiting preschool, or the preschool from Whiting into the Leicester, into OCA Leicester, we're looking at space issues, correct? I mean, that's why the question was, option 3 was moving the 6th grade. Because we need space, or is it, would there not be space to put them, I guess is my question.
Yes, and.
Okay.
We know that space is a premium at Otter Creek Academy. That's the reason why we installed the modular unit. And we know that a couple of years ago we created a new classroom for a very small grade, the grade of 4. So whether that classroom could sometime become a preschool and move the grade of 4 into another class so that they were in the same multi-age. We have not had licensing in to look at that, but that is something that I believe the administration at OCA has considered. They believe that they could accommodate a preschool with their existing grades. We have not had licensing in to look at that or to confirm that. We would need to and want to create a fenced-in preschool playground. I have to say that very closely because it's a tongue twister. And we would put together a proposal to do that with using facility funds and setting that up this summer. Like all of our playgrounds, I would imagine it would start with talking to the teacher and the staff about what they think might be the most important piece to add, and then we would build each year. So none of our playgrounds were kind of built in a day. They were all started with one structure and then another structure added. So we would still do something like that. If you move the sixth grade, then you clearly are clearing up space and opening up a larger classroom. So that's why I answered kind of yes and.
Can you also clear up the bits about OCA? So I'd like you, someone from administration to clear this up. Or Brenna asked in her Let's Talk about not losing anyone at OCA, but and Neshabie, that switch not happening. Can you kind of clear that up for everyone, please?
Yes, I'd actually like to punt it to Renee because he said it more succinctly than I did. I realized I said it in 3.5 paragraphs and he said it 4 lines.
There you go. Okay.
So last year when we were going through our budget consideration, we had we knew that OCA was going to be reduced a teacher, one FTE. Neshabie had a position that we were going to hold, an FTE that we were going to hold in case the kindergarten numbers increased. During the meeting when it was decided that OCA was going to have multiple grade levels that were going to be shared, Fernanda and Debbie brought up the idea that that position that was being held at Neshabie could be used to support the teachers at OCA who were doing the multi-grade classrooms. So as a result, that position, that FTE was moved to OCA, but the teacher who was originally, or the position, the FTE that was at OCA that was going to be reduced, seemed like it was never reduced, but it was reduced because the position at Neshabie moved to OCA.
It's just that staff didn't actually move. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Because of attrition.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
All right. Can we look at option 2? Last week I asked you guys, because we'd had this budget since Friday, I think, maybe over the weekend, whether we could kind of punt this off the table, mainly because I don't like the idea of having full multi-age classrooms throughout the entire school. I don't think it's advantageous to the students. But I want to, so that's, whether we do 1 or 3 can happen later, but I'd like to at least get option 2 off the table, if that is the will of the board.
I will second that motion.
Comments?
Yes, that was the recommendation of the administration, correct?
I don't know that
They
the
said it was difficult to implement.
Right, it would be.
It was our least favorite.
Yes.
The schedule.
It could be implemented, but it'd be difficult on the ground to operate it.
So whether or not we keep it as is, option 1, or whether we move 6th grade, that doesn't have to be decided tonight, but I would at least like to take this one out of contention. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. All right. So,
I have a question for
Sure.
option 3.
Yep.
Does that then assume, well, actually I have a first question.
Okay.
How are the students transitioning to Otter Valley? So those who go from OCA to Otter Valley, how are they transitioning? Do we?
Same as Neshabe, they go.
No, I mean like,
What are they doing?
Neshabe starts transitioning the kids and getting them ready for high school in 5th grade. So they start the middle school. And I don't know what they do at OCA to help transition kids to Otter Valley. So I'm just curious how the 6th grade kids or kids in general are doing.
We do have the ability to filter like any of our data reports by sending school. So that could be information that we can share around whether we're seeing higher levels of success. I think, that data is really nuanced, right? Because it could be related to pre-existing skill sets and competencies of the students and not the sending school itself. I think I can definitely bring that in terms of like 7th grade success rates. Anecdotally, I don't, I've never been in a situation where I'm saying, oh, the group of kids from such and such school is not ready for 7th grade. We know that it's a transition for all 80 to 100 kids that come here every year, but I can't pinpoint, and nor do I necessarily want to pinpoint a particular school as having a harder time with that transition than others,
So,
if that's your question.
Is there anyone from OCA who can speak to the transition programs?
Yeah, I just asked Tina to speak if she's able to.
I'm here, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi there, I'm Tina Roach. I'm the building principal at OCA. I'm sorry I can't be there this evening. The transition that we have to 7th grade is the 6th grade activities that are happening, such as tomorrow where 6th grade will be attending OV for part of the day. Those are the only items that we have currently that allow 6th grade to transition or have any sort of contact besides basketball games or the play or music festivals or such things like that. Our 6th grade students are very excited to go to OV tomorrow. There's been a lot of buzz about it in our building. So I would hope that we can also increase the forms of communication to inform parents and staff that these transitions are happening as well. But they're great. We think they're a great opportunity. We had great success last year with the transition days that 6th grade went to OV for parts of the day throughout the year. So congratulations to Michael Ruppel and his team for putting these things in place so our students in the elementary schools can have exposure to OV ahead of time.
I would
just say, kind of Tina to say, but it is a 6-7 collaborative effort to do some of that programming. So thank you, Tina, but it is a real commitment amongst the 6th grade team as well.
I was here for opening night or whatever you want to call it before school opened, and I saw lots of the incoming 7th graders from OCA. I recognized a lot of them from graduation, 6th grade, and they were not scared at all. They were actually probably scaring the teachers more than they were scaring themselves. So, because
it's not.
so I really think it's all perspective, and if the teacher is getting them ready and not making them worried or whatnot, I think
it's not even just emotional, but academic. So
sure,
because I know at Neshabe, from my own kids' experience, they're really trying to transition them to high school in the curriculum. So what is happening at OCA as far as curriculum?
I would assume that it's the same. They have the same curriculum. So I would assume that Greg is doing the very same thing.
So it would carry over to Neshabe.
Absolutely. Just like they're doing at 6th grade in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
At Lothrop. I would hope. Greg, that might be the teacher, actually.
Yes.
Online.
I know normally there's not comment, but since we're talking directly about something I've been doing for a couple years, is that all right?
Yes, please do so, since we were talking
all
about
right.
you.
So, as has been mentioned, there's a 6-7 transition program that is jointly run by the 6th and 7th grade team, and a lot of energy has been put in the last couple years to build it up way more than it used to exist. As for mentioning a 5th and 6th grade middle school model, OCA has in previous years run a middle school model. It has depended year to year. where you do have multiple different teachers and you're transitioning. We've run with a flex and advisory in previous years. It just depends on the configuration and numbers. Sometimes that does prevent us from doing it, but with numbers somewhat similar to what we have, it is operable to do that, whether it's for a 4 through 6 or 5 through 6. That would be the purview of the board or the administrator, though, to mandate that that's something that they would want to see uniformly across the SU, I would say.
Okay, thank you, Greg. Okay, other questions about option 1 or option 3 at this point? Brett?
I don't know if my question is about either one.
Okay.
I kind of agree that moving and then moving again would probably be hard, right? Especially it's kind of an awkward age anyway. So I guess I'm curious, why do we choose, I mean, maybe I know the answer to this, and I'm not trying to start moving the political football again, but why did we decide to go 6th grade versus kindergarten?
So,
Class size. There's 5 6th graders next year.
I'm confused. What do you mean? Like, where would we?
Essentially, he's saying, why move out to 6th grade? Why wouldn't we move out to kindergarten instead?
The kids who
Where are the
aren't
kindergarten
familiar
now?
with the building.
They would go to Nashville instead.
Yeah.
So, okay. Is somebody coming from a tradition, like I grew up in a different state where you go to middle school 6, 7, and 8.
Sure.
So as an older child with more emotional regulation and things like that, to me it makes more sense to move the 6th graders than it would 5-year-olds.
But, well, and essentially, if you moved the kindergartners, they're not, or the 1st grade, or what, they're not coming back. That's, you know.
And that would
That's the
involve
problem.
having a larger discussion with Lester and everybody else, because that would, well, Lester, Whiting, Sudbury, because that would mean, well, if the kindergartners are the ones who are moving to Neshabie, they're never coming back. So that would mean that the school will eventually be closed. And so that, by doing that, it's a much longer process.
I get it, but I don't think it's fair to those 6th graders. I think the transition to Neshabie and then going immediately from there after 1 year to Otter Valley is too much to ask. So.
I'd like to make one statement on that. Our 6th graders are going to have to transition anyway over into the middle school level. And so by having them go over to Neshabie for the 6th grade, they're going to be working and getting to know those students and transitioning to the middle school with their new friends, their new associates from Neshabie. And so they're not going to be going into such a cold, what's the word I want to use, new environment. They're already going to know, a dozen or more students from Neshabie. They're already going to have those relationships established. So when they come over to the middle school, it's not like just, cold turkey, I guess is,
Right.
do you see what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Because they've already gone through a little bit of a transition by going from OCA to Neshabie. And so I think the transition to the middle school for
be
those
easier?
students would be easier. They're already going to have,
Twice, though.
That's what I'm grappling with.
They're already-
Is it easier?
Building cafeteria, new support staff, having new faces.
How many kids are we talking about?
5.
6?
5, yeah.
And so were they in one class together, or were they multi-age?
Right now, they're multi-age.
They're multi-age.
With the 4th grade.
And honestly, that's the reason why when we started building what these class configurations would look like, option 2 came to play. Because as you look at this, where do you want to distribute the multi-ages? I believe there's not anyone in this room that would say a class size of 5 in 6th grade is good. So presumably, you would not want the 6th grade to be by themselves, which brought us to the option 2. So if you looked at option 1 right now, it is a 5, 6, and then 2 straight grades. But then as you move those children down, it becomes just a bit more challenging to figure out where you want to place the staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Garrett.
I would personally like to hear more about options of consolidating and reconfiguring to fit all the kids in that building.
All the kids into what building?
OCA.
Into OCA? You mean the Whiting preschool
Right.
and K through 6?
I think we talked earlier about that being beneficial, not having a remote program, complications that we had earlier. I don't know. I think it would be worth exploring. You said you need licensing and all that, but
So what we can do for our next meeting, which is in a few weeks after
It'd be right after the holidays.
right after the holidays, is we can reach out to licensing tomorrow morning, and then we can also get a map, because I know that Principal Roach has already been considering what would it look like. Let's say we did option 1 and we brought Whiting over, what would that look like? And then same thing we can bring the other option of what would it look like if we did option 3 and we brought the Whiting pre-K over. So we can have that for you at the next meeting.
if everybody else thinks that that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah,
to do.
that
Is there any way we can look into the transportation with that as well? Because there seems to be that the transportation.
Well, there's no transportation for preschool. We do not transport our pre-Ks. So there's
Traffic, I
yeah.
guess.
Well,
is-
it's not even
but-
traffic. It's just we do not transport our pre-Ks.
So we'd be able to decipher approximately how many students we're talking about.
Correct, okay.
As far as right
Which
now.
potentially would be the additional amount of cars that would be on the road.
Right. Right now, if things don't change, how many
I'm in that
4-year-olds
pickup
would we
line.
have?
That's why I'm inquiring, because I sit in that
Well,
pickup line almost every day.
I wish I hadn't just done Barstow's budget. Those
But it's
numbers are more
not,
fresh.
the numbers are not that large for pre-K right now for next year.
I think
So-
I respect the challenges with transportation. And we can't compel current families that are dropping their kids off to not do that.
Right.
So I'm not, I think we could consider different solutions.
Different
I
pickup
know
times,
at,
or maybe different drop-off
I know at
times?
Neshabie, that's what we've done to
Okay.
help accommodate their preschool programs. And preschool does require, for lack of a better word, sounds wrong, because it's handoff, but it does require one adult responsible to another, signing in, signing out. That is a requirement of preschool. That is not a requirement of K-6.
Go ahead, Tina, if you wanted to address.
So just a quick thing about the transportation. In the morning, it's not that, the parking lot is not that congested. I understand what the town office is saying about the afternoon, but with the hours of pre-K being shorter than the K-6 day, I don't think afternoon traffic will be impacted because those pre-K students will get picked up before K-6 students are released for the day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You would still structure it as 3-year-olds 2 days a week and 4-year-olds 3 days a week.
Yes, both programs operate in 6 hours of direct instruction.
And you don't know until you have licensing in there what our numbers could be anyway, what they would be licensed
That
for.
is true, and that will be dependent on the space
On
that
the space
they
that
are
they
in,
choose.
which is kind of dependent on the option 3 conversation or option 1 conversation.
Okay. Brett.
What would be the plan for the savings if we went with option 3? Right, that would reduce a staff at OCA, correct?
Would reduce a teacher, yes.
And what would we do with that savings? Would that be,
Well, actually, we might, looking at Neshabie's numbers, we could potentially
can you
move
go back
that
to
position to Neshabie. Could we look at the Neshabie numbers, please? There we go. Currently, the the first grade and even the kindergarten both have 2 teachers, 1 to 20 or 1 to 19. We could put that teacher there to alleviate the pressure, I guess, or, to reduce, so that, because we want smaller class sizes in our youngest grades, because they are learning a lot. Learning to read requires a lot, and so we would probably move it there. So it's not really a savings, it's just a move around.
Well, no, but I think knowing what would happen is important, right?
Sure, no, absolutely, but I just,
Yeah, I think initially we had proposed it as a savings, and I think one of the things, it's hard to look at the budget from every single angle, from every single school, right? It's just, there's not enough time to reflect on that. And in reading one of the reach outs, we went back and looked at the primary unit at Neshabie and realized that perhaps if we had an extra teacher, if we moved the current Leicester, 6th grade to Neshabie, we would move a teacher in as well to support that primary instruction numbers.
So, I'm just thinking out loud here, so mainly because there's a big pause and I don't like that. Number one, I think one thing the board needs to consider is that if we're moving pre-K for Whiting, then we're definitely also moving pre-K at Caverly into the school. That hasn't been decided yet either at this time. So that is part of our discussion, I think, and we need to talk about that.
So what you're saying is if we do this with Whiting, Cavalry will go to Lothrop.
Caverly students, the elementary schools, or not the elementary school, the pre-K kids at Caverly should move in to Lothrop.
Yeah. And then we'd sell that building back.
Caverly, no, we'd probably hold on to it for a while. We held on to Sudbury for 3 years while it was empty. We don't know if something could change and we would need to use it or even reopen it as a preschool later on if all of a sudden we ended up with lots of extra kids at Lothrop.
Or we have
or
a
wherever.
voluntary merger
right.
with somebody and we end up filling Lothrop with students from other districts.
Right.
Okay.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
You're saying that if we move Whiting pre-K, then we would definitely move Cavalry. Is that just because of an equity piece, or is that, because I remember we were talking about those as separate things.
They are separate things, but I think it's an equity. Well, it's not even an equity thing for Caverly.
It's a safety licensing, and there is a cost savings to it as well. But Lothrop has the room for the students. The students and the teachers and the paraprofessional they'll have coverage when somebody needs to take a phone call, somebody needs to go to the restroom or take lunch, there will be additional coverage there. And parents will have one place that they're picking up and dropping off kids instead of multiple ones.
They'd also have access to the library and things
cafeteria
like that. Yeah.
and nurse, and many of the services that have to drive there to Caverly to take place are already taking place at Lothrop.
How many kids are at Whiting?
Pre-K kids?
Yeah, preschoolers.
Well, both programs are almost full, but some of them are not necessarily in-district students.
Yeah, a lot
So
of them are.
in-district students, do we know how many we have in-district students?
We've talked about this before. We never quite get there
So we get
because
my
we
daughter
never
who's
quite
3
know what's going to show, who's going to show up. You know, we can look at the birth rates, you know, going out 3 years ago and say, oh, you know.
But what do we have right now?
I think they're licensed for 15, I believe.
I can answer that whiting.
Oh,
the
good.
whiting question.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are currently 18 pre-K students. That's including pre-K 4 and pre-K 3. In pre-K 4, there are 3 that reside in Shoreham, 5 are Whiting, 1 is Leicester, 4 are Brandon, 1 is Goshen. And pre-K 3, there is 1 from Brandon and 3 from Middlebury.
I see those from Middlebury.
So 12 of them are in district out of the 18.
Because I was just wondering, can they not just go to OCA, but
Oh, yeah, they can go to any preschool
take
program.
some of those kids too?
They can go to any preschool program that they want. That is our.
And
Are
they
the
do.
other programs
There
full?
are some OCA students in
Yeah.
Neshabie.
In Neshabie. Well,
Is Neshabie full?
Not their 3-year-old.
not the 3-year-old program currently.
Sounded like the 3-year-olds weren't the problem.
And just to
No,
clarify,
it's been the 4-year-old.
we would sell that building back to Whiting.
Whiting has asked for their building back.
Right.
Or the administration has asked for it back. They don't necessarily. I've talked to them a little bit about it. If we were to hold off a year, they'd probably be okay with that, but they would like their building back sooner rather than later. And there is the option of us moving our pre-K program and still letting ARC stay there, but paying all of the expenses to be there.
So Lori, can I add a little to
Yes,
that?
you most certainly can.
So, one of the questions that we've talked about, so first I'd like to say why option 3 came up, as well as the conversations about Calverley and Whiting. So you know the conversations about Calverley and Whiting came up when we realized the real challenges that we have with supervision and pre-K licensing. So that kind of initiated that. It came up better when we were creating the budget and trying to meet the goal that the board set out, which was to be at a 3% increase in the budget. And remember, we got close, but not there. We got to, I can't remember the number, but it's in here. Again, I'm sorry, I just did Barstow last night. 3.5. So we were at 3.59. I think we were like 150 or 170 short of that target. So we started looking at where that target could be. And then we looked at the class sizes and trying to assign students. That's how we got to the option 3 in OCA. We also then said, so that the reduction of a teacher plus moving those 2 programs brought us to that target that you asked us to come to, which was 3%. And I do want to remind everyone, we all know that was not easy, and that wasn't something we all said, hey, this will be fun, right? We used attrition wherever we could, and we were 1 position shy of attrition. Even the special education position is now even attritiated. Am I making up a word?
Attrition.
And so there's 2, the SLP aide and Jacob's position, or the reduction in force positions.
Zach,
sorry. So Lori said, let's check in with our partners, ARK, in Whiting to see what they might think about doing. And so I called them and asked them, should the program, I always preface with, I never predict the actions of a board. If the board were to say they're moving the Whiting program, where would you be? How would you be able to, if we were to rent it to you for a year, so that the board could have a year of seeing how it works before making a decision on the building? And they said that they would pay the operational costs, so that would save some of those funds, and figure out how to do that. And I explained, because you just did the math and realized it, that the reason that program is often well-staffed or well-enrolled is because it has wraparound services. And many, or if not most, families need full-day care and full-week care. And that provided that sort of one-stop. That was the intent, the vision, however many years ago we started it, and that has held true. So moving the program to OCA made me feel that that could make that vulnerable. And what ARK said that they would do is that they would actually provide transportation at the end of the day to come pick up students that were enrolled in our Lester program and bring them back to their facility for childcare, which I think would be really nice for the families to have that option for, you know, full day, if not full week. And I think it would help sustain our program. So the students that are not our students do come in with money to help sustain the cost of the program. Next year in 27, that amount is $4,106. The current amount right now is about $39.89, so just shy of $4,000 in this year. And so that does also help offset the cost of operating the building and operating the program.
Did you ask them if they were going to try and do their own UPK program there as well?
I did not, but the fact that she was willing to drive to pick up our kids made me feel like she was saying they're more interested in being a child care.
Just child care. Okay.
And that they really like that partnership, and they really believe, and I'm happy to say this because this has been a vision that we've had for years, that transition that those littles have out of their child care into our program is a transition that they are getting used to, that is setting them up for success when they transition into kindergarten.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think Derek is.
He did.
Oh,
Down.
was their hand up?
So, sorry, I was trying to formulate my question.
That's okay.
So, if we allow them to keep using the building and they take on all the costs, the rough savings is what, the 30 grand?
Probably 25, because we would still have to insure it.
Okay.
And I would still want to do the true maintenance. So like the repairs, you know, when the sink is clogged, that type of thing they would do. But when the electricity doesn't work, we would come in and want to do that type of maintenance.
Like anybody that owns a building and rents it out.
Exactly, absolutely.
We're talking about whiting?
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought we were giving it back.
Well, it's a potential.
That's an option as
It's an option as well. But I asked if, you know, we wanted a year to see what was going to happen, that they could still run their program, because we know how hard pre-K is, or how hard it is to find daycare. Even though the Pittsford Village Farm is going to be opening up soon, and other places, it's still hard to find daycare.
And that
so,
would give Whiting a year to plan.
Right.
Is there potential for more pre-K if we relocate to Leicester?
Oh, well, it would decide on the size of the room. You know, that's all based on licensing, so which room we chose.
I just mean, and there's really no way to know this, but the location being closer to the
Route 7?
Yeah.
You mean for more kids to want to go there? Is that what you mean?
If it would be more convenient for
Commute, that's a good point.
Well,
I mean, the
that's kinda
difference
one of the
between driving to
reasons-
Whiting and Leicester to drop your kid off is 10 minutes.
Right. Well, that was kind of the reasoning why we were trying to think about turning Leicester into that pre-K center to begin with, was because it was Route 7 corridor. Lots of people end up there, but
It is possible that
possible.
Leicester might attract Salisbury more than Shoreham,
Yep.
as well as, you know, Brandon, you know, this side of the district.
There's also a couple of other things I want to clear up. So the curriculum coordinator that they're talking about is an RNESU position, which Otter Valley doesn't vote on. However, I did have a meeting with Renee and Debbie and Brenda yesterday, and they have figured out a way to not create a new curriculum coordinator position and actually extend out a couple of people that are already working in our district. Nancy Kay, who is the coordinator of pre-K, is only a school year position right now, And I'm stealing Debbie's thunder, but because Debbie was the one who came up with this, but Debbie has decided to turn that position into a full year position so that Nancy K would be working on the curriculum stuff during the summer, as how she indicated it to me yesterday. And that you would also ask to keep your full-time administrative assistant. We had thought about reducing that down to 50%, but putting it back to full-time and increasing Nancy K to a full-time position would actually save $100,000 instead of increasing the RNESU budget for that. So I wanted to let everybody know that. So that will also affect the Otter Valley budget, because 85% of that 100,000 roughly would reduce our budget.
So that's the salary of our teacher you want to cut?
No. So, well, sort of. So, wait. So let me finish. So the other thing I want to say also is that when reductions happen in schools, and I'm not throwing anyone under the bus, but I found this out myself yesterday, is that administration will talk to the schools principals, and they will say you need to reduce so many positions, and so that decision is made by the principal.
Respectfully, Lori, that's not true. I am not, like...
I'm not throwing you under the bus, I
know. Is this a useful time for me to clarify the process?
Sure.
Please. Okay. So, yeah, I am used to a scenario in which the superintendent, the central office comes and says, hey, here's where we need to go budget-wise. And you need to go, down one position, up one position, level funding, and you kind of make those decisions within. In RNESU, in my 4 years, what I have done is I have submitted a budget proposal to Renee and Brenda that then I discuss and meet with them. To indicate where the social studies position was, what I do is I offer like a core proposal, right? Here's what I would like to go forward with. That proposal included a reduction in essentially ELA, where I felt like, one, there was attrition as an opportunity to do that, as well as some other more minor changes, adding a floating substitute, adjusting a para-educator role to a behavior intervention role, which is a small dollar amount. In addition, because I know that budgets are difficult, right? And I know that the numbers frequently change from the, as we get our student counts, we get tax information, right? It's an evolving situation. I also identify a series of potential additional reductions, right? So nobody likes any reductions, but if we had to go further, this is where this would be. I also, put a dream list of if the numbers come back even better, I would love this, and this. We haven't used that.
I bet we haven't. Okay.
And the social studies piece was on that list of like, if additional reductions are needed, these are ones that we could sustain. So I want to clarify that I was not asked to identify a particular number of positions, but that's what I produced for the central office team.
Okay.
So it was, if I have to reduce a full-time FTE, this is where we could sustain it.
That's
not
right.
the person and, right, doesn't have anything, it's.
Okay.
Is it also true that we don't standardize test for social studies? Is that, am I off there? Is that true?
That is true.
Yeah, it's math, science, and English.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we.
Wish we did.
I know, right?
Right.
So when we let someone go, is it based on just
seniority?
Just seniority.
The
That's per the
contract.
contract.
The contract
Yep.
specifies
Contract
that.
is done.
Not performance. Or,
No, that's contract.
When there's a reduction, of course, it's just delineated in.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
If these changes are being made, like you said, with the curriculum coordinator, is there a way we can change this proposal and keep the
proposed RIFT position? Because do we think cutting the social studies role is like in the best interest of the students?
There's no reduction that's in the best interest of students.
Right.
And that includes every position within the district. I want to be really clear about that.
We could say the same thing about the special ed cuts from central
Yeah.
office budget, right? I mean,
And you can say that about central office administrative positions, right? Like it's indirect, but there is significant utility that a central office provides to students, right? So I want to like that's nuanced, right? There is no position that we could reduce where there would not be an impact on our kids. The question is where is the least impact when we have to make difficult decisions. That's a really tricky question. I have one, as the principal here, I have one chunk of the budget, right? There's several other schools, there's other priorities that need to happen. I don't know what the best decision is, but there's nowhere that we can reduce that our kids won't be on.
That is often why we use attrition whenever we can.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'm gonna ask that you guys get together and just talk some more, you and Michael, about that. Because we as board members, we are looking to you guys to tell us what is needed, because we're not teachers and we're also not administrators. So
we as the board can also say, what is the % increase of keeping that one position?
Well, that's true too. Yes,
I
we
want to
can.
know that actually,
Well,
specifically
and
that percent.
if we're talking about that, we did ask for 2 proposals. One we already knew, right, which would be level service.
Yep.
So,
And that being,
that's out there, too.
and that being said,
Right.
so if the conversation is that we're, whether it's keeping the position or if we end up choosing to have the same amount of money, then it's, well, maybe the social studies position needs to be maintained, but something else needs to be addressed.
Right.
I think if I could reference what Brenda shared before, 1% on the budget is 280,000, right?
I thought it was $299, but
Yeah.
pretty close.
So in a full-time teaching position, inclusive of salary and benefits, it obviously varies, but is between 100 and 150,000. So every position you add or subtract is probably about 0.5% on the budget, 1/3 to 0.5%.
And I think that what I'm hearing you say is that we should consider Nashabee's primary unit. We should consider Otter Valley's electives. And you're asking us to bring back a recommendation. Is that fair?
Well, that's what I would be asking, but I don't know about the rest.
Because you mentioned with the curriculum coordinator changes, the woman becoming full-time through the year, if those changes are put in place, what does the 3.49% change to? And if the social studies position is also kept, then what does that, I want to know what
is
that.
What is that? So that would be at the next budget meeting, and so, but yeah, so I think that's.
And I think the other thing that I just want to clarify, you're telling us that you don't want to hold us to the 3% that you told us in the beginning of the budget you wanted to hold us to.
I think what I would like to is, can you just show us what it looks like
Yeah, I just wanna
by
see. Yeah.
adding, subtracting. Unfortunately, it's a lot of put this in, take this out kind of thing. But
Like, not to make a commitment in any one thing or another, just to be able to compare side by side
Yes.
what those things look like.
yeah.
well,
And the budget did not include taking Caverly out, right?
The 3.49 had Caverly in, it had Whiting in, and it had option 1 for OCA.
Right.
Because
And then it also had how much it would be to take those 2 positions out, and how much we needed to reduce to get to your 3%. And moving Caverly and moving Whiting and reducing, it had the social studies reduction, reducing a 5th grade, a 6th grade, current 6th grade, moving OCA to Neshbe accomplish that. Recognizing that we would rework the Rutland Northeast budget, and that would come through as an assessment to you, right?
Right.
For the savings, that might approximate another 85,000. If you still did the Whiting and the Calverley changes, you would be coming very close to your 3%. If you add back, as Michael said, you can use that 299 or say 150,000 as 1%. You're going to be pretty close with that. So if you add back anything after that, that is the increments that you'd be looking at adding back.
Okay.
And could you explain, just for folks that may not have known, why we were wanting to stay around the 3%?
That was a board decision.
That was our
Because
decision.
we
We know that
Yeah,
tax,
inflation.
yeah.
I'm not owning that one.
No, you don't have to.
But there was just a rationale. I feel like we felt like that was what the community would support.
Right.
And I think there was an assumption baked into that they would not support a higher percentage than that.
Well, we knew that our percentage, if we did nothing and left everything status quo as of this year, would have been a 4.81% increase. We knew that. So we didn't feel that was, we wanted to try to go lower if we could. And that's why we asked for a 3% budget. Because we knew there were going to be a couple of changes anyway. Garrett, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wasn't here last week, so this might have been discussed, but can you explain the curriculum coordinator position that's needed?
It isn't needed any longer, but,
Well,
or how we're reconfiguring
so-
it? Okay, we'll ask Debbie to do that then. Unless,
Right now?
yeah,
I mean, I'm happy to, I just.
yep.
So I think that so there's a lot of work that does go on up at central office regarding all of the grant funding, regarding all of the coordination of, curriculum, instruction, and assessment. And the piece that's sort of missing from that puzzle is being able to get into schools on a regular basis, consistently, to be able to help with sort of those on-the-spot things that occur when we roll out any sort of new curriculum, which we did this year. And it's really it's not, so even though it's funded at central office, the intent is that position, or that part of a position with the plan that I reconfigured, would be in buildings, like that's their role. They're in buildings. They meet with me once in a while to plan, but their role is in buildings. So it's definitely not someone who is up at central office. So it feels a little funny speaking about, because I proposed one plan yesterday to Renee and to Lori and to Brenda. But I would say ultimately what I identified as the need is someone to be able to be available to teachers on the spot to give that support, as well as be available for principals as sort of a thought partner when they're deciding what the needs are in the building and how they can best support their teachers as well. That's sort of the missing piece, if you will,
So we made an investment of, $150,000 plus in curriculum last year, along with materials, along with professional development. And that was our high leverage action in order to make sure that we could improve student outcomes, both in performance and growth, but then also to have a curriculum that is taught across the grade levels, whether it's horizontally or vertically, so that way teachers have the ability to work from one, set of one scope and sequence, as opposed to having to create their own each, or to have separate ones for every day. And so this position was designed to work with teachers to make sure that they are implementing the curriculum with fidelity. So now we will have, so the goal would be to have Nancy work over the summer. Principals will have to shoulder some of the load, and Debbie will have to shoulder some of the load.
Yeah,
And then-
so sort of I guess you would say that it was a week of, or a couple of weeks of sort of new things sort of happening that were really good things. We've sent out a letter to an applicant for the administrative assistant position. Somebody came across our radar that had a ton of experience that could really take over some of those tasks that, administrative tasks that would allow me to be able to get into schools a little bit more often. Also, so that was one big win. I mean, that doesn't come, we all know what hiring looks like right now. So that was one big win. The other piece is that over the past, I would say, month to 5 or 6 weeks, we have really been looking at that pre-K supervisor position and realizing that, again, there are more administrative tasks that we have been working, actually this part since the beginning of the school year, to sort of make things automatic so that we have systems in place that it doesn't take as many man hours to coordinate, so that position coordinates with all of the different UPKs throughout the county, really. And so Nancy has developed some really strong systems, and we're starting to sort of see the benefit of those. So then you're starting to say, okay, you're starting to see the light a little bit and say that we see that there are some more hours here. So combining the expertise and the really the background that I don't want to speak too much because I haven't accepted the position, so I feel really funny speaking about this person, but there's a lot of hope for that person to be able to take over a lot of things because they do have an understanding about building, different sort of curriculum documents and agendas and all sorts of organizing that could be taken off my plate to be able to create more hours, to be able to be in the school, to be able to do exactly what I spoke about in the very beginning, is to be that, like, in the building, on the spot, being able to help out with that implementation. So, and the one thing that needs to be done over the summer is that, and I've sort of seen this over the past decade that I've been here, that it's really important in the summertime to take what we learned from the previous year and to be able to say, okay, we need to shift the scope and sequence, or gosh, this program or these units that were built, we really are missing X. So we need to build that over the summer and then sort of republish the framework and the scope and sequence for next year for teachers. So often in the summertime, we often have people who are more than willing to do that work, but it's often different people that are doing that work. So you want somebody consistent to be able to sort of pull all the willing participants, if you will, together to be able to, do the work well. We have talented people that do the work, but then pull it all together and then make sure that it goes out to everybody widely. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
Brett.
I assume the plan is to vote on the RDSU budget tomorrow night. Is that true?
That is the plan.
Is that the only
we have to have that done in order to vote on our own OV budget in January. So yes.
I know there's even less time on that side.
Right, there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so what I understand is that we have asked the administration to go back to the drawing board on a couple of things, get us some additional information, and we will talk about this again right after the new year, and we'll have some numbers to look at and see how it affects our budget. Yes?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. All right. So then I'm going to move us on to board's report for annual district report.
One second.
Yeah.
Should I talk about Cat Really now?
No, we're going to talk about that at the Purdue Fund request. Thank you, though.
Wasn't sure.
No, I know. That's why I didn't ask you during that. Yeah. Board's report for annual district report. So, as you know, I get to write a letter that I'm always late on. But I ask you guys to give me some ideas to write about. I know that I am talking about Act 73 and it's imploding. But what else would you like me to do? And I will also talk about middle school model because
yes,
That's what I was thinking was really important.
Yep.
Is to talk about that.
Yep. And just well, we're going to be talking about that in another minute. But anything else that you guys really want me to make sure that we get into our letter?
This, just to confirm, this is going, clarify, this is going to everybody.
It goes to the annual report and everybody gets a copy of the annual report in the mail. Yep.
Okay. Is there any way we could maybe slip in like our website and where to find information?
Oh yeah, no,
with
that's already done.
communication?
Yeah, that's already in there, so yeah.
Since we're putting stuff in the mail anyway?
I tell them all about the
that in
Let's
there.
Talk and all that good stuff,
Cool.
so yeah, or reach out or whatever.
Awesome.
So yes, yep. This is just like big bullet points of things to.
Yeah, I was just thinking,
that
just to
we've
remind
done
people,
or
like-
talked about. But anyway, and I'll probably talk about property taxes just because that
Woohoo.
seems, yeah, it's going to be so much fun. That's why I probably am late writing it down. Okay. Anything else you can think that we did or didn't do this year that I should write about? Okay. Well, if you think of something, email me because I'm sure I won't do it before January 1st. So, Burn It Fund request. Paul, are you still online?
There's a pause.
Yeah, I'm looking for Paul Lathrop. Is Paul Lathrop still online? Because
was
otherwise
earlier.
we won't be talking about this to now. I would take
Hello,
that
attendee Paul, who is denoted as Paul's, the possessive. Is that Paul Lathrop or is it a different Paul?
That might be Jen.
That's Jen Paul.
Oh, that's Jed Paul's.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
He was on earlier, it said
He was-
Paul Lathrop.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think he's gone. All right. Well, then all we're going to do is we can't vote because we have to have all three Pittsford representatives here, which would be Brett, Kevin White, and Paul Lathrop. However, Brett sent me a message earlier today, and I think we should just let everybody know what you asked, and
Yeah.
so that we'll discuss it again at the next meeting.
Yeah, and what I was trying to do is come up with a creative solution to buy us some time. I mean, specifically around Caverly, because that's kind of the only place where we could do this, I think. And that would be to leverage the Burn It Fund to cover the cost of keeping the building open for another year while we wait to figure out what's happening with the middle school and consolidation and Act 73 and all these other things that are kind of making it impossible for us to make informed decisions. So that'd be a way to offset the tax burden, but buy us another year to figure out what the heck is happening.
Okay.
So that was my thought.
Right. So, just for those who don't, how many people don't know what the Burn It Fund is? Do you know what the Burn It Fund is?
Yeah, we talked about it.
Okay,
when-
good.
when
All
we
right.
did,
I just wanted to make sure. All of a sudden, I was like, "Wow, we haven't."
We actually have.
We
yeah, covered
okay.
it.
Excellent. All right. So, I'm not sure that the select board would go along with funding operating costs for Caverly for a year, because remember that we all have to. They have to all vote unanimously yes. We have to have a 50% yes vote, but all the Pittsford people have to also vote yes. So,
Yeah.
I
mean,
don't know
haven't
if you've
pulled
talked
every
to them at
select
all?
board, but I
Okay.
have talked to some people on the select board.
Okay.
Yes.
And they've been okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I suppose that's just something to keep in the back of your mind, Renee and Brenda. But we won't be able to talk about it until
Paul's here.
Until Paul's here.
I did have another question.
No, we can't. Nope. No, that's why we're going to move on.
Yeah, just about the 200, was it 200?
Yeah, 200,000
Um,
for the ADA bathroom.
Does that have to be a one-time thing, or can we bond that, or could we self-fund it out of the facilities fund? I'm just trying to figure
Fine.
out a way, because Burn It Fund probably makes more than our facilities fund does.
Well, it's one of those cases where we would be asking for 200,000, but we probably wouldn't get all the money all at once. You know, we might chunk it out so that it wouldn't take it all at one. If you're trying to make sure that the Burdett Fund is still making more money.
I'm not so much, well, I was thinking like, could we do it over 5 years, I don't know. I just was trying to figure
Why?
out a way, because I think the Burdett Fund makes more than what our facilities fund does sitting in the bank, so.
So you can't do it over 5 years unless you bond. You can't bond unless you go to all of the voters and go through a very exhaustive process, which I would never recommend for 200 grand.
What would we be making in interest?
I have no idea. 6 to 8%, maybe 8 to 10. I have no idea what the trustees of public funds are seeing in interest. I will tell you, we have, other than the small withdrawal that we took last year for the lights,
The football lights.
Thank you,
Yep.
thank you. We haven't taken anything other than the debt service that we do take every year on the biomass boiler.
Yep. I mean, the fund is healthy. I just was curious if there was a way to do that to maximize our money.
Well, and realize that it's very seldom that we actually go to it. I mean, yeah, we wouldn't have gone to it for football lights if
If
the
they didn't
McKays
ask.
hadn't asked anyway. So that, you know, just so you know, we don't necessarily, it's not like it's something that we go, oh, you know.
Well, right, but I mean, like if let's say the fund makes 10% and in the bank we make 1, I don't know what it is, right? Then it's a conversation, that's all.
Sure. Okay. All right. Well, we can't have it right now anyway. Okay. OVU facility middle school model. Continued discussion. So, first of all, I'm going to answer Miss Benware's question about had we polled everybody. So this is old, but prior to COVID, yes, we did poll the community. We were at football games and basketball games, and we went to fall things at the Estabrook, and we had everybody we could fill out
Survey cards.
surveys. There we go. About what they wanted for the district, and so on there was middle school model. It was there was a plethora of things, and the only reason I remember middle school model is because that's what rose to the top. And so we were on board to start those discussions back in 2020, and then COVID hit, and so everything went to pot. Once we came out of COVID, and I'm not sure that we're out of COVID, but now that we're back into more normalcy, we had decided to bring that back forward to the board and start working on that. So that is why, so it may seem like it's out of the blue, but we have actually been talking about it for the last couple of years. We just really hadn't moved forward. We did have a task force on the middle school model all last year. They came up with our plan that we showed everybody in June, at least at the board level. And now we're at the next step, which we have a communication plan, sort of, that we know we would like to bond, possibly, in November, but now we need to do all of the work to get to that so that we know if the community will support it, and if...
And the task force had town members on it.
Yes, we did. We did actually have town
That's
meeting.
fine.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
No, that's okay, but I just wanted to answer that question because you had asked it. So, one of the things we need to talk about is the model that we currently have. Do we have that? Can we put that up on the screen? Sorry. The map or the
See if that's the
image
one.
that we have.
See if that's the one that I have.
Because I think there's some tweaks that we need. If this is the plan, there's some tweaks that we need to make to it, and I think it's easier.
Supplemental
To,
docs.
yeah, it's easier to show it up there than it is to try and explain it in words. I could try, but I
think I opened the
Do you
one
have
that
it? Do you
didn't.
want me to forward you
Oh,
the?
thank you, that's what I was
Did you find it?
So what, are you wanting the one from last school year?
yeah, June from June.
From the
It
task
should be in the
force.
supplemental docs, though. I
Yeah,
think
it's
I
the
asked.
most
I
recent
did ask
supplemental.
Melinda to put it in there.
Okay, then I will go there. Because I opened
That's a good
two
idea.
different ones.
We received it.
Oh, there it is.
There it is.
That's funny. That yeah, because it's in the.
Yeah.
Did you find it, Renee? or
Yes, I
you want
did.
me
Yeah, it's in the.
Thank you,
supplement.
ladies, for coming.
The It's not on the slide deck. It's separate from the
Right.
slide deck.
I think putting it on a slide deck makes it hard to see.
Okay, so this is still kind of hard to see. However, I feel like I should go up there. I'll go up there. Okay.
Need a stick to
I do
point.
need a stick.
Lori, I have a clearer version on my phone too if you need
That's
any
okay.
clarification.
There's a couple things I want to delineate. First of all, this is the current school that you see right now. Okay? That's the current school. And that's not part of the school at all.
The annex
there we
is
go.
Trying to make
gone
it
in this
happen.
picture.
No, I know. This would be essentially the addition, because where you see that big brown thing up there, that's the where the new cafeteria would go.
That's the
That is
annex.
currently what the annex is, what you see out back there by the wrestling. Okay? To give you an idea of where we're at. Over here, right there, is the library where we are right now. The problem with putting the middle school over here is that they have to go through the high school to get to the library. And that the whole purpose of this is to keep them separate.
Right.
So, the question becomes, how do we fix that? And I don't have a suggestion for that. I'm just pointing out some things that we need to consider. Number one is we need to figure that out. Number two is that, oh, and in talking about the library, it was brought to my attention that the library used to be, before it was way out back here, when it was built, was that it was in the front of the school. So, one of the things we could do is if the 7th grade wing, which is right here, could be turned into the library, so that both sides could access it. And then that would open up the high school, or this room, maybe as our administrative offices for our central office. That's just one thought.
It would also be nice for community engagement to have the high school at a more visible front part of the building.
Right, the library, yeah.
Yeah,
So that when we
that's
have meetings and stuff, they wouldn't actually have to traipse through the entire school to get here. They could just kind of walk in, because there is an entry there. But anyway, so, and then there was also a couple of things that came up in June about where the band room is in relation to some classrooms, which they thought that there would be some issues with noise. So, those are a couple of things that we have to discuss. Also realize that where these come together, all Casey did, she's the architect from NBF, was she kind of put it together, but there's things she said that we could do. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she didn't actually, this is just abutted next to what the current configuration is. We could mesh them a little bit better together. Anyway, I
Like the
just wanted
locker
to.
rooms and the new weight room.
Right, yes.
Yes.
That's right. So, and for
Just a-
people who can't see this, this is the makerspace room. Special education is up there. Grade 8 classrooms are the kind of teal gray looking color. 7th grade is probably upstairs on the second slide. But anyway, cafeteria would be there.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah, and on the second floor would be grade 7 classrooms, special ed classrooms. Grade 6 would be here. Obviously, the gym is in the middle like it is currently on our side. And I'm not sure, I can't read what those say.
What is
Those
it?
are
What are you
roofs.
looking at? What color?
It just says roof.
Right, does it just say roof? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
The gray is
That's
So, yeah.
because there's no second floor to the middle school.
Well,
The current building.
the
The
current.
current
The
building.
current building, okay,
That's
fine.
new.
Okay,
No, that's
That
new,
part would be
yeah.
new.
okay. That would be. So
And it
anyway,
doesn't propose putting a second floor in the middle school.
it doesn't?
Not in
Okay.
the current middle.
Oh, not in the current middle
wing,
school.
Not in the
Right,
east wing
okay.
bracket of the second.
All right, so anyway, so those are things that we have to discuss as a board and how that might look. And then I think we can start talking about, well, maybe we have to start talking about costs at the same time. I'm not sure how we do that. Ideas from Brenda or Renee?
Well, so I think that is a good observation. Thank you for that. I think, again, much like the budget, we all look at it from different angles, so people's perspective is helpful. I don't know that, I'm not sure if Michael is still here.
No, he's supervising the game.
He's not. You know, Michael and I sat in the committee meetings with all of you, and I don't think anyone thought about that, but I do think you are right. It is a really good idea to move. You know, I think it started with that sort of wing from the library straight down where the cafeteria was. At one point, we said that should be the sort of middle, and we should build on the other side. And then when we started looking at, so that you had the sort of those shared services in the middle, and you could build on either side. Then we realized that there was problems with affecting the baseball field, problems with traffic flow, so we flipped it, and we caught moving the cafeteria, because we realized that the cafeteria is original, and while it may have been state-of-the-art in the 1960s, it is not now. It is not a welcoming place. It does not feel like a place you want to go and eat. So the amount of construction that has to happen in the kitchen is essentially gutting anyways. So ripping it out and starting someplace new is a good idea. I almost wonder, even coming forward, where that might work. I think, long story short, I can go to her and say, hey, redo the library and put it somewhere else and tell us what you think it might look like. I could see the library in the front, even with the administrative offices, the central offices also in the front, still being a really good connection. I think it would be really nice. This is an impressive space to have access and utilization for the community for other purposes. I think would be fabulous. So I think the best thing is I could go to her and say, help us mock what this might look like. You know, the other thing we could do is we could take some of those green spaces over there on the other side. But because that hall, that I'm going to call it for lack of a better word, that administrative hall where nurse, guidance, and administrative offices are, and the main entrance will still be communal. So you could go on that side as well. I agree with you, though. I think it's better on the other. But I can go ask Casey to do that after the holidays. I have been in communication with her about trying to make this into a sort of three-dimensional picture. And maybe even at some point into sort of a three-dimensional model. And she said that there are things they could do. She showed me some, not of ours, but off the stock markups that they've done in the past. And she said, but they couldn't get to it until after the holidays.
And then what about, how would we determine cost? How is that normally done?
So how that's normally done at this early stage is that's done based on the square footage and the cost of construction. Okay. And that you kind of do that. And then there's certain things that they know that are going to be more than the typical sort of flat cost of construction, like bathroom renovations, kitchen renovations, just like you would in your own house. Then there is going to be money put in for architect and engineering fees, bonding fees, contingency fees. And contingency fees, when you kind of step out of a project, especially in this world right now where the cost of construction, I think you shared this with me, somebody shared this with me just yesterday, has gone up 40% over the last 4 years. Was that you? Somebody shared that with me, right? So the contingency is going to be pretty healthy as we come forward with what a total cost would be. But there is, there's recent construction, both in Burlington and Winooski and other places, so. And then honestly, if we all get to that, the voters say yes, the next thing is the architects and the engineers actually do the plans that can be bid ready. And that's a huge investment, because that's a lot of their time, that they're literally going in rooms showing where the electrical outlets are gonna be, where the plumbing is gonna be, all of that. And then it goes out to bid. And so then when the bids come in, if they come in too high, then we value engineer and we decide what we can't live without. That is the reason why Neshobe does not have a full-size gym, from my understanding, is they valued engineered in the 80s and they couldn't afford a gym. So then we do that. On the hopeful chance that we would come in under budget, then we get to go to our wish list. Wouldn't it be nice if we did this too? Wouldn't it be nice if we did this too?
So Brenda, would we be doing the same? So that's just the building of the new aspect and kind of converting the current system, but there's also a lot of modernization that is going to be required in the building itself.
Yes.
Would that be a separate component, or would that be folded into the component of the new build?
So I would ask that of our architect. In my mind, we want that to be included in the bond. That doesn't mean that it can't be two different bids done at two different times. But the challenge with renovation in an existing building is there is only about a 7 to 9 week window to actually do everything. So we have to have vendors that are ready to, the last day of school, come in and work straight through the summer, and hopefully, in an ideal world, leave by the middle of August. So there may be a reason, and it may make a lot of sense, to do the new build, again, assuming if, and if, that is going to take more than 7 weeks. That might take a year. And so that is going to go on contingent with operations here. And so there's also going to be cost associated, you know, much like when people build a new bridge, right? There's going to be costs associated with temporary traffic flows, temporary things like that that are going to be changed eventually.
I feel like this needs to be a phased approach.
I think it's realistically going to be a phased
Gonna have
approach.
to, yeah.
And I think that's the other reason why a contingency is going to be a saving number. Because I think we don't know what construction costs are going to be next year, yet alone 3 years from now.
Yep.
Because we may need a upgrade to the boiler. I don't know, but there are things we have to do before we even start the new wing.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Is the gym actually bigger, or is that just all the space that wasn't classroom became gym on this?
It's
That was
narrow.
the
I think it's
question we
about
asked.
I think we asked about that. I think it's obviously long. Well, this is not to scale either, right?
Right.
So
Just a quick
it's-
drawing ended up this way?
Yeah,
I
I
think we
think
drew in
so.
classrooms and then everything else became gym.
Yeah, I think so, but I'm not sure that it would be bigger, or we know it's going to be narrower than the one that we currently have. Because we won't have the kind of seating that we have in the one that we currently have. It would be more, I would probably,
Design is something I'd put on the wish list.
yeah, there you go.
I would want, and so that would give you room, maybe that's why it's narrower, to get it at the end instead of the sides.
Sure.
But the biggest answer is, it's not to scale. It's not.
Right. Okay.
Looks good. Include it in your letter.
Oh, yeah, I will, yes, I will include it in my letter. Please see attached. However, we will be moving the library, and we will talk about, we'll also put the link in so that they can see Jill's presentation of what our building currently looks like and why we need to renovate.
Yeah. Shouldn't we say that to the public first? Here's where we're at.
Well, one of the things that we wanted to do was actually take people on guided tours of the nastiness that is Otter Valley that we hide really well, like the pipes and the.
I think we should take a picture of the lady with the modern tiles.
The tiles.
But
next to
the
them, 'cause
bucket of files.
I'm not sure that they're quite as
modern,
adored
Stress
anymore.
just thinking.
Yes, she was a lovely lady.
I have a question.
Yes.
If we were going to move central office here,
Yep.
there would be a cost associated with that. Would that mean that Barstow would also have to bond for that cost? How does that, what happens with that cost?
So, well, here's one thing that you have to think about, is that the cost associated with moving central office is, number one, there is that beautiful building that they're currently in that is, we do not have to sell back to Brandon for $1 because we actually own it. It's bought by the district. And so therefore that money would go into, well, would we have to give 15% of it to Barstow?
I think that short answer is that is something we would have to really ferret out.
Yeah.
Honestly, at that point, I don't know, we might be the Phantom Otters, right? Like, nobody knows
But
if
the idea is that the by selling that building, we could put that towards the bond, or put it into our facility funds for, other things to come down the pike. That's where I would expect it to go.
I just was thinking that's going to complicate everything and make it like.
but they did pay their share every year.
Right.
That we
So-
were
Yeah.
there.
I was going to suggest maybe if it is too complicated, we just not worry about that right away.
Well, I'm not sure that we're worried about it right away. We just want to know that there's space for them. I mean, we don't even know what Act 73 is, if anything is going to happen with that, now that we're in voluntary merger phase, which obviously nobody wants to voluntary merger. So.
Well, and they basically have said that that's not going to be how it's going to go.
Well, right. So, but you got to get legislators to.
Well, so far we've wasted a year. Let's see how much more time we can waste. I mean.
Yeah. Well, and if you've read, I love reading Digger. I don't know if anybody else has read the opinions on there. There's lots of people who would like to change the income tax because there's lots of people here, that pay the same kind of income tax that we do, but their property taxes are about, how did it go? It was property taxes based on your home. They pay about the same as everybody else, because it's based on the value of your home. Yet they could pay more in income tax for their fair share. I don't know if you believe in that, but anyway, there's opinions out there. I would suggest to everybody to read the opinions and read any article you can find about property tax relief and thoughts and changes, and maybe we can meld something together and present it to the legislature based on other people's thoughts and our own. So
I'm sure they'll get it right next time.
Okay.
Love the hopefulness.
Yeah, that's right. Optimism is our friend.
Key.
So, yes.
May I ask a question at this point? I don't know if it's proper.
Sure.
I apologize for being late to the game on this topic, but just for my information, having been part of the task team.
Yes, you were.
Years ago, is the primary driver for us landing where we are with this subject to gain the benefits of the grouping of 6, 7, and 8, academic and socially?
Yes.
Or is it more driven from a capacity issue at Neshabie and Lothrop?
No, well, it would alleviate some of the pressure that is currently at Neshabie, although we are seeing some declining enrollment, so the pressure of kids is not as great, but it's more about 6th, 7th, and 8th grade together. We talked about that at length, and that it's good to have them all together because of their age and curriculum base and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, but that is the primary driver.
And then lastly, if it does move forward,
Mm-hmm.
does that leave Neshabie and Lothrop at like maximized capacity? I mean, are they going to be able to be underutilized? Are they going to become underutilized capacity-wise?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. We continue to see declining enrollment at Lothrop at a high rate.
This is why we're also looking at moving the preschools.
Right. Well, and that's why we were talking about OCA. I mean, I hate to say it, but I'll. This could, at some point, Lester's kids are going to end up somewhere else.
The numbers point
Right,
that
I mean, the numbers are there, whether it's this year, next year, 3 years from now, I can't predict that.
Okay, no, that's fine, you don't have
But-
to elaborate, I just was curious.
Right, but, we do know that, pulling 6th grade out is probably around 90 kids or less, depending.
Really, where we're at is really finally getting to that long ago desire.
Right, well, and we also realize that there are gonna probably be involuntary mergers at some point, and if our building is ready, we could end up taking some other schools into ours and bolstering our kid numbers.
Okay, don't want to take you off your game.
Oh, and
Yeah, no,
I also
but-
just want to add that in addition to the middle school model is, we do have significant repairs and modernization that we have to do in addition to the middle school model. So that incorporating it into the bond for the middle school is also.
Oh, there's a lot of goodness.
Well, there's a lot of cost efficiencies by doing them both together.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks, Barry.
And of course, Act 73 also didn't address funding for facilities.
No, not yet, no, they kicked that can down the
Yeah.
road too.
Only the need.
Yeah.
Well, there's a promise to talk about it later. That helps.
We just don't know when that later might end up.
Later.
Yeah,
What do you mean?
right. Exactly. So, all right. So, you know that you're going to go back to Casey and talk to her and.
Yeah,
Okay.
I will see if she can even maybe do something before you have to put it in the town report.
Okay.
And I think it's a good idea for me to start a web page on the
Yes.
RNESU page with this sort of.
That'd be great.
information.
Thank you, Joe.
That way you don't have to put all these pictures in your letter.
Oh, I think I should though. They need to see that.
They're not going to be visible.
We'll make t-shirts.
Yeah, well, that's right. There we go. All right. Okay. So, moving on. Tomorrow morning there's a coffee talk at Morningside Bakery here in Brandon from 8 to 9:30. If you'd like to speak to the superintendent, and if any of you can make it, please come. It's always lively discussions when we're all together and talking to people coming in and out. McClure Library is after all the rest of them are after the new year, but if you can make any of them, that would be great. Board member recruitment for March elections. So I believe Melinda sent out something saying that you had to have your petition in by January 26th or 22nd. So any of you who are up for re-election, keep that in mind. And then nothing on advocacy. Is there other business, anything we need to talk about?
I'm sorry, can you tell me the deadline for the,
It's either January 26th or January 22nd. I will find out and I'll let you know.
I'm gonna leave it open and
Yep.
highlight it.
It's January. It's in January, late January.
End of January.
There you go. It's late January. That's a true statement.
I can tell you right now.
I have one thing I wanted
Yeah.
to bring up. I have a little bit of concern with the rescheduled time for the RNESU meeting tomorrow.
Okay.
Only because it doesn't really give community members an opportunity to attend.
The problem that that happened is that 2 of my board members from that could not attend tomorrow night's meeting.
Mhm.
So we did try to find another alternate meeting, but we had to have our budget in by the 20th. So therefore, we could not find a night that would allow to get all of us together.
I hear you. I get it, but we talk about transparency, and I just feel like that is a glaring opportunity where I understand schedules this time of year,
Sure.
it sucks, but I just wanted to express, I don't think that that's fair to the community to do that at 2:00 in the afternoon.
Wait, tomorrow's meeting is scheduled for 2:00 in the afternoon?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that information.
See?
So
Proving my
yeah.
point.
So, but anyway, that was the only time we could get everybody together.
Yeah.
But I hear you, and unfortunately, we're just time constraints.
And it was warned appropriately, right?
Yes, yes,
So-
it was. Yep. Okay.
And there is a Zoom link as well.
Right, there is a Zoom link, so you can buzz in if you have the ability to do that. Superintendent report.
Oh, update. So the only thing different from the previous update is I added the information from the VSBA webinar, making sense of the December 1st letter. So you'd be able to see the video of the webinar, the slides, and a copy of the December 1st letter as well.
Cool. Awesome. Our next meeting is Tuesday, January 6th. We also, please put in your calendars that we usually have a special budget meeting, which is the following Tuesday, January 13th, also here. And if we approve our budget on the 13th, we won't have the meeting on the January 20th. So just so that you know that. We do have to have an executive session.
I think so.
Did that change?
Yeah, it changed.
Okay, then, all right. So since we don't need to have the executive session,
Yeah, he would still be here, I would imagine.
all right, I would propose adjournment at 8:11.
So moved.
Natalie, is there a second?
Second that.
And Rhiannon? All right, go out and have a great holiday season, everyone.